Naman Naman. Hello, everyone. My message today is titled Non-Attachment. And I'd like to begin by reading a short excerpt from this book, Everyday Suchness, by the late Reverend Gyomei Kubose. This is from his essay titled Non-Attachment. It goes as follows. When the sun shines, enjoy it. When it rains, enjoy it. All things in life, let them come and let them go. This is the secret of life that keeps one from getting upset or being neurotic. The Buddha says that all things in life and in the world are in constant change, so do not become attached to them. Buddhism teaches a life of non-attachment. Non-attachment. Of course, the opposite of that is attachment. It is very easy to become attached to many things, and this leads to troubles and problems in life. For example, we could become attached to money. If one becomes attached to money, then one becomes greedy or miserly. Money in itself is very neutral, but attachment to it can lead to many problems. You can be attached to relationships. When your son or daughter goes off to college, it's very hard to not be attached. You've raised them their entire life. So when you send them off to college, it's hard to let them go, to let them now begin to live their life. I remember when we took our daughter to college as a freshman, and they had an orientation for the parents, and they told all the parents at this orientation, now you parents, please try not to call your children every day on their cell phone. And I thought to myself, wow, some parents would call their kids every day after they go off to college? But I guess that is the case. We could be attached to our sense of self. Let's say, for example, you're the CEO of a company, and then now you retire. So your identity of yourself is of a CEO, and everyone called you Mr. So-and-so at work, and you had executive assistants, and you had all kinds of various people treating you with great respect and because of your position. Now you retire, and you do not have that sense of yourself. In Japan, I understand there is a syndrome called RHS. It stands for Retired Husband Syndrome. And what it is Japanese businessmen, when they work, they just work and work and work, and they have no hobbies, so that when they retire, they drive their wives crazy. And so women of these retired businessmen develop sort of a stressful psychological syndrome, and they're calling it retired husband syndrome. We can be attached to emotions. We can be attached to our anger. Let me give you a personal example. As a minister, I've served as a minister for 33 years now. And as a minister, you really try to avoid getting into an argument with a member. Over the 33 years that I served at Orange County Buddhist Church, I can count on one hand how many times in those 33 years I had, let's say, an argument with a member. So this is many years ago, I had an argument. He said this, I said that. He said this. I wanted to say this in reply, but I kind of held back. And so we had this argument. Now, fast forward maybe 10 or 12 years after that. And I'm taking a shower in our house. And my wife made a rule that after you take a shower, you have to take this plastic squeegee and you have to squeegee the shower stall so that the hard water film doesn't cause the shower stall to be kind of icky. So I'm taking this shower and somehow I'm recalling this argument I had with this member some years ago. He said this, I said that. I'm just running it back in my head, in my mind, almost word for word. And now I'm starting to squeegee the shower stall. And I'm like that, squeegeeing. I pressed the squeegee so hard, it snapped in two in my hand. I thought to myself, what is the matter with me? I couldn't even recall the exact date or even how many years ago it was, easily over 10 years before that. 10 years ago, yet I'm holding on to that anger as if it was yesterday. I hadn't let it go. So we hold on even to our anger. I gave that sermon at the Vista Buddhist temple maybe about a year ago, and I shared that story. And then about a month or two later, I spoke at the Vista temple again, and one of the members there came up to me after the service and said, "Oh, Sensei, I have a little gift for you." Oh, gee, what is it? I opened the gift, and this is what this member gave me. I'd like to show it to you. So he gave me a plastic squeegee framed, and it says, just in case, meaning just in case I happen to break my plastic squeegee and need a new one, he's given me a spare. I think it's a wonderful gift and a wonderful reminder of how I hold on and am attached to my anger. So we can be attached to something in the past. Maybe something happened in the past. You have some bitterness, some resentment, some anger, and you're holding on to that for something in the past. We can be attached to the future, worrying about the future, what's going to happen to this virus, what's going to happen to the economy, and we can be worried and attached about the future and miss the present. We can be attached to the past and miss the present. I'd like to share one famous Buddhist story about attachment, and this is a Zen Buddhist story. So a Zen master and his young student follower were walking along, and they came to a river. The river was quite swift, and there was a young woman that wanted to cross the river but was fearful of crossing the river because the water was quite swift. So the Zen master picked up the young woman and carried her across the river and set her down on the other side of the bank, and then they went their separate ways. Well, the young disciple of the Zen master began to think about this. All this time, the Zen master had taught him that you should not approach women and you cannot touch them. It was one of the precepts of the life of a monk. Finally, he could contain himself no longer, and he said to the Zen master, "Master, despite all that you have taught me, you carried that young woman across the river." And the Zen master said something like, "You fool, I left that woman at the riverbank. Are you still carrying her?" Meaning, are you still attached in your mind? So Buddhism teaches through this wonderful parable how we have to let things go. But it's not easy to let things go. As my own personal story, and maybe some of you feel like, I don't care. I'm never going to let that go. Something about your past. If you feel that way, that you can never let it go, or you choose not to let it go, then all the more, I think, our Shin Buddhist teachings have meaning and relevance for us. Because it's exactly that ego self that Shinran Shonin points to, that he saw as so hard to penetrate, to break through. And it takes the light of the Dharma. It takes the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha to penetrate the hard shell of his ego, to open up his heart and mind to the world of truth. It's not easy to live a life of non-attachment, but without the teaching of non-attachment, we would never reflect on our attachment. In closing, I'd like to share once again this short passage from Reverend Kubose's Everyday Suchness. When the sun shines, enjoy it. When it rains, enjoy it. All things in life, let them come and let them go. This is a secret of life that keeps one from getting upset or being neurotic. The Buddha says that all things in life and in the world are in constant change, so do not become attached to them. Naman Navuts, Naman Navuts, Naman Navuts, Naman Navuts. Thank you very much.